The true story punchline is a popular advertising tool used to entice unsuspecting moviegoers into getting tickets. Still, we're aware Hollywood has a habit of exaggerating events and bending the truth. Sometimes the past can be a little too boring, and creative teams adjust what actually happened to keep audiences captivated. It's time to look beyond the silver screen to see why, based on a true story, isn't always as it seems. Stick around to discover 10 true story movies which are actually lies. First up is Fargo. Fargo was one of the most highly praised films of the 90s, and not only was it an Oscar winner, but it is now the focus of a TV series. While its legacy in film history lives on, its status as historical fact is nonsense. They had the audacity to begin with a phony disclaimer stating, "This is a true story," and that only the names of the real people have been changed to protect their identities. Protecting their identities ought to have been easy, seeing how these people never existed in the first place. There had been a case in the mid-1980s in which a body was put through a wood chipper, and another case in which someone was messing up car serial numbers. But the rest is pure fiction. Joel Cohen even said once that if an audience thinks that something is inspired by a real event, it gives you the freedom to do things they might not expect otherwise. That's why he decided to claim Fargo was based on a true story. In other words, the Coens tricked audiences into believing the film's more unbelievable scenes by claiming they actually happened. Next is The Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project was a low-budget, scary movie that evolved into one of the most successful films of 1999, launching the found footage horror genre. Though the movie's advertising did emphasize that it was shot with a standard video camera, the old method of implying the movie was based on real found video footage, was what helped the film reach box office success. What happens in the film, however, is completely fake. In order to sell the film, the movie makers went so far as to film a fake documentary and concoct fake newspaper articles about the witch. The movie wasn't even shot in the real town of Burkittsville, Maryland, which the film claims used to be called Blair. It was shot 25 miles away, and Blair never existed. Now, on to Killer Elite. Killer Elite is based on Sir Ranulph Fiennes' book, The Feathermen, which he claims is based on a true story about 3 mercenaries recruited by a sheik to kill 3 SAS personnel. What's more is Fiennes claims the real Feathermen saved him from assassination as well, since the book allegedly exposed the shady activities of the fictional Soviet-trained terrorist group. While Killer Elite is an exciting action and espionage film, it isn't based on a true story. Despite this, the names of SAS soldiers killed in real combat were used to further embellish the story's factuality. Many of the deceased's relatives were enraged by the book's portrayal of their deaths as assassinations, and the filmmakers did nothing to alter the story. You know what they say, never let the truth stand in the way of a good story. Now, being fair to the filmmakers, we have to say the novel on which the film is based claimed to be grounded in reality long before the film was made. Even though Fiennes admitted years later that the book was entirely fictitious, the filmmakers decided to make a film based on it rather than reality. Now, we have The Strangers. The Strangers was promoted as a true story. The film was a hit in part because it claimed that the home invasion was based on a real event and that it could happen to anyone. This widespread fear of having your home broken into and being attacked by psychotic killers was abused, and The Strangers became a smash hit. A disclaimer at the start of the movie claims that a couple was murdered in 2005 after their house was broken into by strangers. But even so, none of this occurred, and the couple didn't exist at all. Brian Bertino, the film's director, got the idea for the movie from a childhood memory of a stranger knocking on the door and asking for people who did not live there. As it happens, they were burglars looking for empty houses to rob, as the other houses in Bertino's neighborhood had been robbed that night. Bertino was inspired to produce a film about what horrific things could happen if the wrong people entered your home after this creepy experience. Next up is The Perfect Storm. Aside from the star-studded cast of George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, Diane Lane, and John C. Reilly, another huge selling point for The Perfect Storm was the claim that it was based on the true story of the Andrea Gale, a boat that was caught up in what was termed the perfect storm, and neither boat nor the crew were ever seen alive again. Even so, the fact that the perfect storm is a gathering of separate and unconnected boating tragedies documented in a book also titled The Perfect Storm. They were all connected to create a story. The only indications that the story was true were the names of the actual boat crew used for the characters in the film and the existence of a boat called the Andrea Gale. Moving on to Captain Phillips. Captain Phillips is based on the true tale of Samoa Somali pirates hijacking the Maersk Alabama in 2009 and the ship's captain saving his crew's lives. Even so, a ship's crew member claimed that the true Phillips isn't much of a hero and that no one wants to sail with him. Phillips, he claims, essentially invited the hijacking by disregarding safety rules and sailing too close to the coast. Phillips allegedly got countless email warnings about rising piracy in Somalia. Those emails warned ships to stay at least 600 miles away from the coast, and Phillips's boat was approaching it from more than half that distance. The crew also alleged that they were attacked by 2 pirates on that trip, not just one. Chief engineer Mike Perry, who played a minor role in the film, was seemingly the most heroic, leading the team downstairs and locking them in the ship's lower levels as the pirates ransacked the vessel. Now we have the walk. Let's get one thing straight. Philippe Petit's nerve-wracking tightrope walk between both the 2 World Trade Center towers was real. He even walked back and forth and performed tricks, just like in Robert Zemeckis' 2015 film, The Walk. We're not trying to minimize what was probably the most daring stunt ever. Petit's incredible journey was even the subject of a documentary a few years ago. Sadly, the actual event was never recorded, so there was no video footage of the stunt in the documentary Man on Wire. Despite how great the walk was and how intense it was, the film made some mistakes in presenting the truth. The majority of facts about the actual walk, such as Petit's lack of harness or safety net, his earlier walk between the 2 towers of Notre Dame in 1971, and the building's natural sway in the wind, were true, proving that director Robert Zemeckis and his team had done their homework. He was arrested for the stunt, as shown in the film, but the charges were dismissed on the condition that he did a free performance in Central Park. Similarly, the building's owners pardoned him and gave him a lifetime pass to the observation deck. Petit claims in Man on Wire that he's never fallen during his stunt, which counters the film's claim that he fell into a lake while walking. In reality, he did fall during a circus tightrope walk rehearsal and was badly wounded, but that doesn't count. Petit and his team had to make 3 trips to New York instead of the one depicted in the film to prepare. According to the National Post, the film did not depict Petit hooking up with a groupie after being freed by police, which led to his breakup with Annie Alex, which could explain why she flew back to France while he stayed in the United States. Next, A Beautiful Mind. This hit, starring Russell Crowe, took an upbeat look at the life of economics Nobel laureate John Nash, which was unfortunately heavily fictionalized. For starters, the actual Nash never worked at MIT's Wheeler Laboratory, as it doesn't exist, but he did become an MIT instructor. Nash also never worked for the Defense Department. The film depicts him as a father, and he did become a father in real life, of a child whose mother he abandoned. In addition, Nash never gave an acceptance speech for his Nobel Prize. Oops. Now it's Rudy. Rudy is one of the most inspirational football films we've seen in recent years. It's also a little sloppy with the truth. Remember when the players threw their jerseys on Coach Devine's desk to persuade him to let Rudy play? And what about the crowd chanting his name? Nope, never happened. Finally, we have Argo. Argo, starring Ben Affleck, was a box office success in 2012, having won Academy Awards. Unfortunately, it's also fairly factually incorrect, particularly in how it minimizes Canada's role in the overall hostage extraction plan that compels the story. President Jimmy Carter himself chastised Argo for making things up, saying Canadians contributed 90% of the ideas and execution of the plan, and the film gives nearly complete credit to the American CIA. Carter specifically identifies Ken Taylor, played by Victor Garber in the movie, as the main hero. That's a wrap for this video. Which true story did you believe? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.